And that's the end of the episode. Okay. Okay, so this episode gives us a good enough kind of glimpse or glimpses at meetings between Isaac and Dexter. We have so Isaac stood his ground. Isaac stood his ground. He actually lasted longer than I figured. I thought. I mean, there were only like three guys in that bar, so I guess him. I guess it's stupid to think that he wouldn't have gotten this far had he not been good at what he does. Like, had he not been willing to kill to get his victory. Because the Koshka Brotherhood is not some happy rainbow hopping family. They are a brotherhood of men willing to do the wrong things to get what they want, and they're people who have killed to get what they want. So they're very used to this. It's a crime ring. They do like heroin, like drug smuggling. They run a strip club, all this stuff. So it's like they're not exactly strangers to the world of underground crime, and crime very definitely includes murder. So it was stupid to think that Isaac himself, he hasn't been specified as the boss. He hasn't. I think we haven't really heard anything about like who else there might be. But he is so far he's the only guy we've seen. So whether or not he's part of like a group or whether he is actually at the top of the hierarchy. We saw the chart that Dex was looking at of like the known associates of the Koshka Brotherhood, and Circa was right at the top with other people under him. So I think that's some kind of the insinuation that he could be the main guy. But yeah, I think but then that was known associates of the Brotherhood and not necessarily like a strict kind of display of everyone who's actually in that kind of hierarchy. So I think he could be the main guy. He could be part of a group or like a round table or some shit. But either way, he's the main one we're dealing with right now. So. And I think the way he's gone so far, he's been shown to have enough control that it makes sense that he would be the only one that they're dealing with, or he's the only one there now. But yeah, he stood his ground, and it was like three guys there, like two with guns and one with a knife. So he stood his ground fairly well. He took some scratches and some grazes, but for the most part, he actually stood his ground fairly well. And again, he's good at killing. He's good at doing what he wants to get what he wants. And killing is not something that he really opposes. Like the only thing he opposes is obstacles in his business or people who get in his way, or in this very very particular instance, people who kill one of his own. So he's behind bars now. They found his blood from the forearm knifing, the knife grazing. They found his blood at the scene, so that then ties him to him killing the members of the Colombian boss. That was a great trap idea. From having researched the Koshka Brotherhood and finding out that the Colombians weren't really big fans of them, smart idea from Dexter, leading him right into a Colombian bar and warning them ahead of time. Be on the lookout, Koshka's coming. So that was a smart one from Dex, and I think it was fortuitous anyway, because I think he wasn't expecting Isaac to be able to survive that. He wasn't expecting him to actually come out of that alive, or to even leave the bar as a whole. So Isaac being able to stand his ground against them was kind of a surprise to him. But I think it was fortuitous anyway, in the sense that he was being attacked from like three different angles. So at the very least, two of them had guns, one of them had a knife. So one of those attacks should have caught him off guard at some point and drawn something. So like the drops of blood were very fortuitous, like them picking it up and being able to match him to that, and then him being tied to the murder of those Colombians. So he's behind bars now, and he's got a trial incoming too. So they should be able. Again, he's a powerful man. He's got money. He's got like a rank within the Koshka Brotherhood. So I think he should be able to. And he's got bodyguards and stuff. He has people willing to be able to cover up his crimes. So I feel like he may well he's like I feel like his only jail time will include that of before the trial, and any extra time he might have. I think knowing him, he'll probably be able to lawyer up well enough to avoid any serious charges or to avoid any serious jail time, or even get someone from the Koshka inside the courtroom to try and get his case lobbed off. So I'm not really expecting anything big from that, but he did give off that story of the guy who was sent to Serbia and waited all that time to be able to, get his revenge again. So I think that it's just him saying that, however long he needs to wait, he will wait. But then, him being him, he will use that time to plan ahead, see how he can actually get back at Dexter and actually, inflict his vengeance for Viktor. So yeah, and then Dexter coming in with the clapbacks, being like, if you try and find out who I am, then you'll regret it if you do. So don't mess with Dex. He kills criminals he catches criminals and he kills criminals for a living. So he's not exactly some guy that you can just get one over on and get away with it. So yeah, that was cool to see. But I think it was just fun to see their first meeting. I think that their first initial meeting being Dexter watching him from the car park, and then them having like a phone call, and eventually Isaak actually turning around and seeing him in the distance. That was a cool meeting. But yeah, I mean, so far I think Isaak does just seem focused on the vengeance. Someone killed one of his brothers, and Viktor, nonetheless, someone that we saw from the picture he had in his apartment, someone he has history with, and someone he swore vengeance for. So this is literally just about that for him. Like not only that someone killed one of the Koshka Brotherhood members, but also it was Viktor, someone he actually held close to his heart. So it's like a kind of double-sided vendetta thing that he has going on. And then he knows the Miami PD lost one of their own to the Koshka Brotherhood, so he is going to take out their vendetta using his own vendetta. So it's vendettas all round. But that the meetings were cool. What else? We had the Barnes wedding photographer thing. I think I vaguely remember that. I think that is definitely one of the earlier kills, and I think it's. I mean, if they're going Bay Harbor Butcher style, then the Bay Harbor. I mean, well. The kills that they would track down. I think out of all the pictures he showed him, the Deb showed him, he pointed out 3 on each page. I think maybe the other ones weren't there, or maybe he doesn't remember them well enough, or maybe I think the Bay Harbor Butcher thing that was introduced in season 2. That's when that case came up, because they found the bodies in the ocean, and that's when they dubbed it the Bay Harbor Butcher. So I guess those would have to be kills from. I mean, it could be kills from season 1. I think I vaguely remember the wedding photographer kill. But that one was a wedding photographer that you killed, and his sloppiness back in those seasons. I think that's not like something I remember too specifically. Like it's not like it's not something that like I'm able to remember like incredibly well or call out too well. But I think that like him being caught on camera by the wedding photographer is something that like seems, especially for back then, it seems somewhat likely. So it seems like it actually would happen, and that he would believe that just because he took out the main target, that stuff would never come back to bite him in the arse, and it would never come back to haunt him. And until it actually does, and then he has a whole new truckload of crap to have to deal with. So that exploring that was cool, but then he actually managed to burn down to burn the photo away. So yeah, I figured when Maria offered to actually sit in on that talk with Ty, something would happen. They would find a photo in there. I think Maria being there especially is just more cause for concern that evidence would be uncovered, and the Deb would have to work to actually recover it and to leads to push stuff the other way. So we returned back to Maria thinking that the Bay Harbor Butcher is still at work. I don't remember what theory I had at the beginning of the season. I think I figured that she might think it was a copycat of some sort, or that maybe the real one was still out there, but now she does think that Dokes wasn't actually the Bay Harbor Butcher, and Deb agreed with her, partially because she knew that Dokes wasn't like that, but also because she knows who the real Bay Harbor Butcher is. I think, well, yeah, I think she does. Yeah, I think Dex did mention that. But yeah, Maria does think that the real one is the one who's at work today, and that Dokes was just the one set up to be the Bay Harbor Butcher. So she's continuing with her investigation on that, and looking up all the previous victims and all that good stuff. So yeah, I don't know how this is going to end for Maria. With Deb, she's following up with the investigation to keep tabs on it, to see where they lead, and maybe to lead them astray. Like, like her taking the photo was one step of leading them astray. But even now, Deb, like, she doesn't want to be part of this. Like, reminiscing about the memories of being at the beach with Dexter, and knowing that he was there to help her, but then also knowing that they weren't really that close, like, always at, like, arm's reach, and, not too far out of reach, but just never too close, just having fun when it was necessary, but never actually explicitly being together and, being that close. Like, that's when that was pretty much, like, the prime of their relationship. Like, they were brothers and sisters, but they weren't inseparable, they weren't, like that, and, like, she didn't really have to worry about much else but her life, and knowing that, he was there for her whenever she needed it, but never actually being explicitly, involved in his private, more private affairs. And now she is, and now she just wants out. 1 minute it was pretty much wanting to see if he could be changed, and then realizing that he couldn't, and that it was actually hurting him more than it was benefiting him, and that's how he felt. And now it's that, she can't in good conscience actually help him in any way and actually feel good about it at the same time. So now her only option is to just leave him to it. Just don't, I think, she, like, stealing the evidence and, like, leading, like, shooting down Batista's theory of there being, like, of there being another killer at work for Mike Anderson's thing, that hurt her badly enough. So, like, the aftermath of that is what's actually, leading her to actually to say that she doesn't want any part of this, and that she doesn't want to have to go through with any of this anymore. So yeah, she's and even more than that, she finds out that Dex has taken cases from the police without them realizing, and just taken it into his own hands. It's not just a matter of actually, his initial defense was sometimes people slip through the cracks, but now she finds out that it's not just that. It's not just people slipping through the cracks. It's Dexter literally stealing evidence so that he can get to the person before the police department does, which, in his defense, is so that he doesn't have to watch them slip through the cracks in the first place. Because it's like, for him, it's like, not taking that risk. It's knowing that his method is foolproof. Again, Daredevil versus Punisher. Like, it's knowing that his method stops them from being able to cheat their way through the system, or even, just using the system, finding a loophole in the system, just, prevents them from doing that at all. And also prevents them from actually, from actually getting out and doing the same thing. I think his end game there is to actually make sure these people don't ever get the opportunity to actually to commit their crimes ever again, and actually harm anyone else ever again. Like that's the end. It's not like a way of showing. I mean, in some sense, it is. It's showing that the system is flawed and that it doesn't always work, and that like that kind of stuff. But for the most part, the end game is actually to make sure these people don't ever do what they do again. That they're not given the ability or the power or the means to hurt anyone else ever again. Like that's the main thing. So by doing so, they sometimes have to prove that the system doesn't always work, or they have to actually move a few steps ahead to prevent to prevent those flaws from being pointed out, or to prevent those flaws from actually being allowed to be flawed, pretty much. But yeah, finding out that Dexter has actually taken cases from them and stolen evidence to take into his own hands in the first place is pretty much just like another no-no for her as a whole. So yeah, it's not something, and it's just more stuff she's uncomfortable with, knowing that stuff like this has happened, and knowing that she helps cover it up too. She helped him cover up Travis' murder. That was the first thing, that was one of the first things she did. Like she was obviously shocked when she went into the church, and that whole stuff led to Maria finding a blood slide, which again wasn't her fault. But Dexter's not wrong. Like, had she not walked into the church, then that would never have happened. But it's again just it's not down to her. I mean, you really can't blame her, because I think her being her, like the last thing she would expect to see walking into that church is her brother driving a knife into Travis Marshall's heart. That's the last thing she would have expected to see. So, and again, she was meant to be meeting him there. She told him, as like a final checkup thing, go back to the church and collect any other evidence and wrap the whole thing up. So she was going, knowing her, she was going there to make sure that he was actually doing his job and actually getting stuff up and maybe even helping him to pack up or supervising the pack up or something. Like he was meant to be there anyway, so, and, her initial motive was to go there to confess her feelings of love to him, but, it's because she gave him that job that, it's because she gave him that job and that kind of task to do that she knew he would be there. So I think, if anything, Dexter should have known that, okay, you're at the church not just to kill Travis Marshall, but because Deborah also gave you that task of actually wrapping things up and finalizing stuff. So Deborah is expecting you to be there. So consider the chances of Deborah actually walking in on you or coming to this church to see how you're getting on. Like, sure, it's a finalizing thing, so it might not take long, but, that might be all the more reason for Deb to actually come along and see that things are going according to plan, even if it's a simple task. Like, I feel like Dexter himself should take some accountability on that, like, even in his own internal monologuing, like, I should have known better, like, Deb wanted me there in the first place, so it makes sense that she would want to come down and see how things are going. But, yeah, that was the final straw for Deb, finding out that Dexter has actually taken cases out of hers and the police department as a whole's hands. So yeah, so now she's going forward with the intent to just not have anything to do with it, because she can't, again, being the lieutenant as well, she can't in good conscience actually help a serial killer steal evidence and cover up the evidence and actually take the law into his own hands in such a way. And I think in the beginning it was the fact that she thought he was only taking out the people who slipped through the cracks, because that was his main defense. He didn't talk about people who committed the crimes and he saw them committing the crimes or whatever. He never told her about all the people who never properly got processed by the system. So finding out about the people who got there beforehand, like, it's him taking those cases into his own hand it's like a whole new, it's like a whole other level of like involvement for her to have to deal with. So yeah, that's that. We had Hannah coming back, and she we got some new layers with her. She was apparently nostalgic about the murders. So so she, I think, I couldn't really clock anything from my own kind of visuals of her facial expressions and her voice. And I think like the main vibe I got was Dex scanning her almost and seeing that something wasn't right. I was like, oh, maybe something's up. If Dexter's looking at her like this, all inquisitive and suspicious and stuff. And then he pointed out, she's nostalgic about these murders, and I was like, is that so? I mean, she seems to have been pretty shaken up by it, and that she wants to move on from it. But then I guess having to come back to, I mean, I guess in one way it's that, like, up until now she'd been able to avoid this stuff, but then now being brought back into it by the PD, and especially Wayne himself having come forward in the first place, willing to give up all of this stuff. Then the PD actually drags her into it as well, so she's being reminded of what she had, and I think especially back then, back then, like back then she was traveling with Wayne, like she was under the influence of being his girlfriend and being his partner in crime and everything, like literally his partner in crime. So I think going back then, she's not only revisiting these kind of bodies that they buried, but also revisiting the mindset she had back then, that she was the Robin to his Batman, and they were partners, and like a troublesome duo or whatever. So that kind of element of nostalgia could come in, like seeing what they did together, like as haunting as it is, like going back into that mindset and like figuring out, remembering who she was when she was with him, I guess brings about some sense of nostalgia, some weird sense of nostalgia. But she killed the wife of that Miami couple, the one who was at the motel or something. I think she said she killed the couple. So Wayne killed. Wayne was the one more experienced with killing, so he took on the stronger person, which was the man in that relationship, and then the woman was killed by Dex called out someone smaller. So that was, not only was it someone smaller, but it was someone more inexperienced, which is how Hannah got the scar. She was stabbing her so much that the knife became so bloody and it slipped, and then the blade retracted and it sliced her own hand, and then. But then that would mean that she has her own blood on the dress, wouldn't it? like, I think they wouldn't scan it and unless I think Dexter maybe told them there was a need to, because he didn't really say much else. He said, he said, until they get it back to the lab and run more tests, then he won't be able to say much else. I'm assuming he's going to be the one running tests, and then he'll discover Hannah's blood on the dress, and then do whatever from there on. But she has immunity. Hannah has immunity, which is why I think now it makes sense that her lawyer told her it was for the best. It wasn't just like a justice thing or like some kind of closure thing. It was literally because her lawyer offered her immunity from any charges as long as she actually gave them the information she needed. So that's why she was like, but then why would she be lying though? Because if she has immunity, that means she can't really face she can't suffer the consequences from handing over the locations of these bodies, right? So if she has immunity, why would she need to lie then that she was the one who killed them? I don't know. Well, unless she's under the immunity of being like an accomplice to the extent of having witnessed these crimes, because then if the immunity is under the influence of her if the immunity is under the influence of her never actually having killed anyone herself, but actually just watched Wayne do the killing, and maybe it's like she held the woman back, and then Wayne stabbed her up. But then that could be the immunity she has. So she told him she never actually killed anyone. But then because of that, then she has immunity. But then if the story comes out for the truth and turns out she actually did kill someone, then her immunity deal changes, and she can be held accountable for these deaths. Okay, so that's why she lied then. But Dexter knows this. I think he recognized, and he said, it was because she was caught up in the frenzy. She was having the adrenaline pumping throughout her. She was happy. She was caught up in the frenzy. She was high on the blood and the killing and stuff. So she was doing it so much that she got in too far over her own head, and then she actually got her own little scar to remember what she did, but she doesn't seem too unhappy about that. She's actually, she's kind of like surprised, and she's surprised and somewhat intrigued that Dexter put two and two together and actually found that out. So she doesn't really seem too scared, because I think she, from the start, she's had that kind of like, I think she looks like she's had that kind of feeling about Dex from the start, so she knows that, for one thing, he didn't tell them immediately at the crime scene when he put two and two together, and he looked up at her and discovered the truth that the woman was killed by someone smaller, most notably another female. So because of that, because he didn't tell them immediately from there on out, then I think she knows that I think he wanted to double check it with her as well, to tell her what his theory was about the truth behind the killings. So. Because I think she knows that I think he senses something in her that I think he senses something in her that he wants to know more about. But I don't know if that's going to go well, because we've seen the consequences of him actually appealing to the inner secrets and the inner darkness of someone else, and it doesn't always end well. So. Even if he does see a killer inside Hannah, even if he does see that, and even if he decides to pursue that, then what? It might just end up being exactly like all the other pursuits throughout the history of the show, and it's just not going to end well, I don't think. So we'll see exactly how this stuff goes, but I don't have the utmost confidence in it at all. So yeah, that was Hannah. But yeah, I haven't really written much else down. I think it's not some just interesting points from this episode alone. So good to see how it's all moving forward. But yeah, going forward, I think we're gonna see how Isaak gets along in prison, especially if any of his fellow inmates are Colombian. I think we're gonna see some prison fights. Or I think we're just gonna see. I mean, this is a pre-trial prison sentence, so this is him being in prison before the trial because he's still under arrest. So I think it's just not going to last very long. The next episode, or at least the episode after that, may well be how the trial goes down. And again, I figure he's going to lawyer up. He's going to have enough, he's going to have enough strength and rank and power on his side that he can find a good lawyer and someone to get him out. And he might even put money on someone. He might pay someone to get him out. He might pay off the judge, the jury, someone else. He's gonna find a way to get out, and it's not gonna stick. And then once he does, he's gonna get right back to killing Dexter, because that was the point of his whole story. That was the fact, that was what he's trying to point out, that however long he has to wait, he will happily wait, because he knows that once he gets out, he's gonna go straight after Dexter. So it's gonna be interesting to see how everything unfolds, and Dexter, especially just knowing that from here on out, I think Dexter realizing that Deb's involvement is too much for him or for her to handle. So the best way for him to go about this is the way he's always gone about this, which is alone, minus Harry's intervention from the beginning. But the best way for him to go about this stuff is alone. So we'll see exactly how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have from this one. So interesting episode. Looking forward to the next. But yeah, that was Dexter, Season 7, Episode 5, titled Swim Deep. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment on what you thought of the episode and what you think is coming up next in the season. And yeah, that's it. So, I will see you guys next time.